Hello, everyone. Welcome to Defrost the Chicken. My name is Natalie Calderon, and I'm going to be your host today. Today, I have a guest with me. Her name is Amanda.
Hello, everyone.
And today, we're going to be talking about divorce. Amanda's going to share her story with us about her experience getting a divorce from the father of her child because she felt like that was the best thing for her and her daughter. So, yes, let's get started. Now, let's talk a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of just go from there.
I was a one and done.
Okay.
I have one daughter. She is just turned 23. And I do have two stepchildren.
So you have one biological child. How old was your daughter when you decided to get divorced?
4.5. And it was 4.5 years too late.
Okay. Okay. How long were you with her father?
Well, we met when I was 15.5, 16.
Oh, wow.
He was kind of a perimeter friend. I was with my first love when I met him.
Okay.
And he was very smitten with me. And I was like, you're annoying.
Go away.
Please leave me alone. And then my first love and I broke up, and he was very persistent, and I dated him for a hot second for a few months. He was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
He was not a party boy,
Okay.
and he didn't really have boundaries, and I've always been good with boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And he got on my last nerve, and I told him that and was like, I can't deal with you. You're too needy. Like, you are up my ass.
Mm-hmm.
And I broke up with him. I was 18 when he and I dated. And then I had several other boyfriends. And when I was 22, we still had the same group of friends.
Uh-huh.
We started hanging out again, and he's hilarious. My ex-husband is one of the funniest people I know. And I always liked him as a person. I just didn't want to date him. But when we were 22, we started hanging out again. And then, we were at a party. One thing led to another. And then we were like, oh, hey, like maybe we'll date again.
Yeah.
And he was different. He was still nice, but he was different. He worked in the music industry.
Okay.
He was, I don't really want to be too obvious, but
Okay.
he was an air personality for radio stations in and around Sacramento. And yeah, that industry is very shallow and shady, and there's a lot of pressure. And so he definitely had turned more into a bit of a douche.
And
I was like, sign me up.
Right? Always. That's always how it goes.
How many red flags do you have? Let me get on this ride. So we started dating. I was actually living in the Bay Area at the time, and I moved back to Sacramento for him. It was not the brightest choice, but I did.
But here we are. It's okay.
Here we are. And then he asked me one day if I wanted to marry him, and we were living together at the time.
Okay, before we keep going, did he ask you to marry him before you got pregnant?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Girl, I don't do anything that's not planned. Yeah.
Yes, we've talked about that.
Yeah. Yes, I do not. Yeah, so we got engaged, and then, so we got married. No offense to anybody, but if you were 22, you have no business getting married. We got married on April Fool's Day of 2001. Little did we know what a joke our marriage would be.
That was like sign number 5, but yes.
I know.
Let's proceed with the marriage.
I don't know. It may have been like red flag number 20. So we had it was a really fun wedding. Got married. I stopped taking birth control the very first time we tried. I got pregnant.
Oh, wow.
We were both super excited. I found out on Father's Day that I was pregnant. I had a horrible pregnancy, absolutely wretched, which is, well, I mean, I always knew I only wanted one, but even if I wanted two, that pregnancy would have made me only want one.
Yeah.
And then I had our daughter in February of 2002. During my pregnancy, well, he cheated on me the first time when I was 5 months pregnant.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. There's so many times he cheated. He was a professional
cheater.
Yeah. Although he would say he wasn't. He still to this day denies it, but it's cool. So he cheated on me the first time when I was 5 months pregnant. I found ecstasy pills in his pocket that he had left on the ground, and we had 2 dogs. And here you're going to learn.
You love your animals. So
I do. Well, you're going to learn something real fun about me. I love to teach people lessons. So I took those pills and flushed them down the toilet and let him scamper, freaking out. Like, where were they? Where were they? And I go, oh my God, did our dogs eat them? Why do you have drugs in our house? Where were they? Oh, they weren't my drugs. Well, it turns out he had a drug problem that I didn't know about.
Oh.
He worked in an industry where he wouldn't get home until 2, 3 in the morning because he was on the air until the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That happened. And then he lost his job the 3rd trimester.
Of course he did.
Of my pregnancy.
Was it drug related?
No, it was not. There was an ownership change at the radio station that he worked at. They let everybody go. And he got offered a job in Portland, Oregon, and we were living here. And he moved 3 weeks before I had our daughter to Portland because they needed him to start right now.
Okay. You were okay with him taking it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So he got offered that job. I delivered my kid 2 weeks late. Our child, I guess. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks late. She did not want to come out. They induced me. He came home. We had her. And then he flew back. I had her the day before Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. And then he flew back the day after Valentine's Day. Another red flag. While I was in the hospital, I was hand making him a Valentine's Day present and he got me nothing. Anyway, so he flows.
Omar's going to laugh at this part because he thinks Valentine's Day is stupid.
Not when I just pushed your
yes.
almost 9-pound baby out my coochie.
Yeah, he should have at least showed up with flowers.
I would have taken it my favorite candy bar. Like, I don't need anything, but I hand wrote him a poem and put it on construction paper and glued it to cardboard and cut it out and made a
at
puzzle.
At the hospital? Where'd you get all this shit from?
Oh, I had been working on it.
Oh, okay.
I was broke because I wasn't working at the time because my pregnancy was so awful.
Yeah.
So we had her. He flew back home and I got to pack our entire house up with a brand new baby and move our 2 over 100-pound dogs, a 2-week-old baby, a U-Haul. Also, y'all, this may be TMI, but I had an episiotomy. They did them back then, which is where they don't let you tear, they cut you.
Yeah.
And I had to drive to Portland, Oregon.
Why didn't he come? I'm kind of wondering.
Because he sucks?
Because you got married on April Fool's Day?
Well, yeah. Turns out.
Dude, I would have lost my shit.
Well, it's really crazy because once I got up there, a while later, I actually learned he lied to me and said he was working and he wasn't. He was just out at a nightclub partying.
While you were fucking moving?
Yeah. While I was moving, my best friend from my childhood, Dan, actually helped us move and helped us drive up there. And he actually stayed with us for a few days because my mom drove too. And then she drove back home. I had horrible postpartum depression. Surprise, surprise. Shocking. Nobody knew what that was really back then. Nobody was talking about it. But I found out that actually the night before we were driving up there, he was out at a nightclub partying and he almost lost his job that he had just gotten because him and his buddies were outside smoking a big fat blunt and Portland police rolled up. And then they were like, oh, what are you guys doing here? You can't do this. This is illegal, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, we're here. We work at the radio station. So in Portland, the radio station also owns the Portland Trailblazers. It was Paul Allen was the owner, and that's like a very big name. And so they were kind of like, oh, okay. But they called the radio station.
Imagine that happening now.
Like, it would be like, whatever.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, who cares?
Who fucking cares?
But it was 2002.
Yeah.
So he almost lost that job as soon as I moved up there.
Dude, what a fucking
I didn't learn that until months down the road.
How far into the marriage did you realize that you needed to end it before you actually left?
Oh, years.
Okay.
Which is typical for most people.
Yes.
People love to give extra chances and hope, maybe this time you'll love me enough to do what we need or to do what's right.
Especially when there's a kid involved.
Anybody out there who says, well, I want to make it work for the kids or I want to do this, shut up and leave. You're not doing anything for the kids. What you are doing for your kids is showing them the most unhealthy example of what love looks like, what love feels like. And you're not giving them a chance at having a healthy relationship down the road. My mom used to say that to me. She used to tell me, she didn't divorce my dad till I moved out. Oh, well, one day when you're older, you'll understand. No, and I still don't understand. And I'm almost 48. And I actually resent the hell out of you for it because I married my father for sure. But it was a couple of years.
The first time around, you married.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think I'd ever get married again. I told everybody I wouldn't. But it was 2 years. It was a long journey. Those first few years, there was a lot more shady behavior. There was behavior that I did not realize that was drug and alcohol related because, again, it was normal for him to be out till 3 a.m. And I was asleep.
Was he an addict?
Oh, yeah. But I didn't know it.
To alcohol and drugs, or just alcohol, just to a bunch of different stuff?
Anything, because he learned once he got off actual drugs and alcohol that he has severe social anxiety. I mean, very severe.
For someone that works in the radio personality.
It was awful for him. And I used to say that to him. And
did he enjoy the job?
He loved it, but he didn't enjoy hosting nightclubs. And then you go to events outdoors or fundraisers or whatnot. And it's a lot of interaction when you have to be on. It's different when you're in a studio recording. You have control over everything.
So let me ask you this. Was he mainly doing the drugs when he was out on the field at work?
He never did anything at home.
He never did anything at home. So that's why you didn't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, he was doing coke, and coke lasts about 15 minutes. And then you want more.
Yeah.
And he was also popping pills. He was taking like Norcos and Oxy, and he was doing ecstasy. He was doing mushrooms. I had stories for hours of the dumb shit that he would do and the stupid ways he would get caught up with me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know he was popping pain pills, and I didn't know.
Oh, damn. He did everything.
Coke. No, he did not discriminate. He never smoked crack. He never did meth. He never did heroin. But like, when you're drinking a lot and when you're in that industry, coke is everywhere.
Yeah.
And people who drink a lot usually will end up using coke at some point because they'll use it because they think, oh, it sobered me up.
Yeah.
Now I can function again.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Not for me. No, thank you. But
I mean, I don't know.
I've
never done coke, but I don't think I'll start now. It's cool. But I do hear stories.
Don't start.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, which was crazy because my dad was a drug addict. And there is nothing I can sniff out better than an addict. But he had the luxury of being gone every day. So he would leave for work at like 2 or 3. He would go to the station. He would prep his show. He would be on the air. And then he would either go to a nightclub he was hosting. He would be out. And then he would get home at 3, 4 in the morning. And I would be up with our daughter, and I had to let him sleep. And then he'd get up and he'd get ready for his day and he'd go back to work.
So how often was he home?
Well,
just like sleeping hours and that's it?
I mean, he was gone Fridays and Saturday night. He had like a Tuesday night club. He had like a Thursday night club. He had Fridays. I mean, he was gone all the time.
So yes, you didn't notice his behavior or his drug use, I guess, but also you had a baby that you were basically dealing with on your own.
I was, and she did not sleep more than 3 hours at a time until she was 12 months old. I literally thought I was going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
I think I actually did lose my mind.
Yeah, you never found it, huh?
No. I'm still looking.
Yeah.
I don't know where it went.
Same. You said you got divorced when your daughter was 4.
4 and a half.
So she doesn't remember anything, right?
I ask her sometimes, and she remembers. It's interesting because she remembers like the houses we lived in Portland, which there were 2. She remembers the house we lived in Monterey, which was where we were up until we left. She doesn't actually remember leaving. Maybe that's because of trauma.
Maybe.
But also, they do say that most marriages end if there's children involved when they're between 4 and 5. And from what I understand and have read, it's actually better to leave before your kid is 5, because after 5, it becomes harder and harder and harder on them because they understand more.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I left when I did. He made it real easy. Well, there was a lot of other variables. I would have left sooner. He didn't want me to work. Because he didn't want me to have money, because he knew if I had my own money, I would leave. I had no access to money. Even when we were married, he never bought our kid clothes. My mom bought our clothes. His mom bought our clothes. he would buy like diapers and formula and whatnot.
So how did he think that she was going to get clothed?
Oh, he didn't worry about it because other people took care of it.
But did other people take care of it because he didn't, or just that's just how it was?
No, because he didn't.
Okay.
And I didn't even have access to a bank account.
Oh.
He was like, well, it's my money. And you know how I am.
Oh, girl.
You know that
I'm kind of like confused because knowing you now, I don't see you.
I was the same back then. I had a mouth on me and I would fight with him all the time. Yeah. And I would talk shit. It was super toxic.
Yeah.
So I got a job.
Mm-hmm.
The best part about all this is that he lost his car. I don't remember how, but it was something like he didn't pay, got impounded because he wasn't paying his car payment.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a car.
Mm-hmm.
And my car was paid for. And he wanted to drive my car to and from work and to all these clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And he came home drunk one night and I was like, in my car? Oh, hell no. So I had a car and he didn't. I was like, you know what, screw him. He doesn't get to tell me I can't get a job. So I got a job at a local elementary school running the after school program.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, how am I supposed to get to work? I was like, I don't know, walk, ask for a ride. This is my car.
Yeah.
I'm going to work. So he said, who is going to take care of our daughter? We lived at this point in a condo directly next door to the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, you can. Well, that's my time to myself. I can't watch her. And I was like, watch her. She's your child.
I can't stand.
You are not babysitting your kid.
I cannot stand. You know the amount of dads that do that? My husband doesn't. I want to make that clear before he gets hella mad.
Yeah. So many men do that. My husband never did that with his kids either. He actually, that's a pet peeve of his, is when he hears men say that. It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. So I got the job and I had to pay my really good girlfriend to watch our child while he was in the house. Her and I talked so much shit when he would leave every day when I got home, but he made my life a living hell.
Wait. She would go over to your house while he was there?
And watch our daughter. Her husband was his coworker and they had a child together. The reason I picked her is because they were in dire straits. She had a baby and their daughter was really young. And I was like, well, at least I can afford to pay her. Like, I will pay her. But he made my life such a living hell when I was working. He would not clean up anything. He refused to make dinner. When I'd come home, he'd be like, well, what's for dinner? What are you making me? I have to go to work in 30 minutes. What are you going to make me?
God, I want to throat punch him.
Oh, girl.
Jeez.
I mean, and that was when we started marriage counseling. But he did the whole, I don't want to watch my kid when I was like, she's out of diapers. We need toilet paper. Like, I'm going to go to the store where you are. And he's like, well, why can't you take her? I'm playing Madden football. And I was like, what? And he's all, I don't want to watch her. And I was like, you're not fucking her babysitter. You're her dad.
So, okay, let me ask you this. He didn't really want to watch her and whatever, but how was he with her when he was wanting to watch her, I guess? Well, or spending time with her? Like
that's the thing. He was great with her. He adored and loved her.
He just didn't want to do the boring stuff, I guess.
No, he didn't want to he wanted to just do like, oh, she's happy. Oh, fun.
Yeah.
And he would feed her, here and there. He really enjoyed her when he was enjoying her.
Right. But you had to be the primary caretaker because he wasn't going to do it.
Yeah. Of her, of our house, of our dog, of everything. And he gave her a bath, I can't remember, 2 or 3 times ever until I left. That was something we even talked about when we were in marriage counseling. She was like, you don't do a bedtime routine with your daughter ever? Well, I'm at work. And she goes, but you don't work 7 days a week. Because he didn't.
Right.
He didn't work weekends. He had nightclubs. And she was like, that's a really important thing for you to do with your child. He didn't care. He didn't want to read her stories, just didn't.
He wanted to have a child without having the responsibility of having a child.
And it was like that for a very, 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 very long time.
Now, how is his relationship with your daughter now?
It's actually really good now because he's completely sober.
Okay.
Like completely. He got off drugs a very long time ago. Somewhere between 2009
So she was like, what, 7, 8?
Yeah, he got arrested. He did some really dumb stuff and he went to jail. And this man had never even had a speeding ticket. He was like, oh, clutching his pearls. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he was down at county and that was not fun. Nobody wants to be there.
And that's what it took for him to get sober.
Yeah. And, he actually says today, like, he is so grateful that happened. And he is. Who he was is not really who he is. Do you know what I'm saying? Who he was when he was younger, when I first met him, is who he really is at his core. Who he turned into
with the drugs and the job.
That was not him. He never even, I'll be honest, y'all. First time he smoked pot, I got him high. It was me. It was me. It was actually me and my best friend. And I mean, he wasn't like that. But then he was in this industry where everybody's doing it. And it's like, oh, you got to fit in.
Yeah.
And he was definitely somebody who very much peer pressure affected him. So he got sober from that. And then he was still drinking and smoking a lot of pot. And then in 2020, he had a aneurysm and nearly died. He's very, very lucky to be alive.
In 2020?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. So not that long ago.
And once he recovered from that, he's been completely different. And their relationship is really, really good now.
And now they have a good relationship. You're good with that. You're okay with that. You're content with his changes that he's made.
Totally. We were only really not good while he was on drugs.
And now you guys co-parent.
Even so, when I left, I was like, well, this is really his only shot at her actually having a dad who has to parent her, because I am no longer there to do everything. And instead, what happened was, during his time, his mom would take care of her.
Okay, so after you guys separated or got divorced or whatever, what was the split? Was it 50-50?
No. Gosh, it wasn't 50-50 for a while. I moved out, and 2 days after I moved out, he got fired from his job.
His whole life just fell apart.
Well, it did. And I left because he was doing some really shady stuff. Yeah, he lost his job and he had to move back. And we were in Monterey. I moved here, and then he moved back in with his mom. And he was available at the time to, he'd pick her up from school or whatnot. But he was looking for work. Like, he's always had a really good work ethic. He was looking for a job, found one. And, then again, he was going to all these events, going to nightclubs, partying, hanging out with some really interesting characters. When you are an air personality, you get a lot of groupies, and it's very bizarre. But it is a thing.
But it's a radio.
So he got some girlfriend who was like 22, and we were in our early 30s.
Of course he did.
And she and him were just doing drugs all the time. Well, she was using him. She just wanted him to buy her blow.
Yeah.
But it was very contentious for a very long time, because he was chaotic and belligerent and angry, and he was a pain in the ass. And he would say I was a pain in the ass, and you better believe I was, because if I'm going to give you my child, you better have your shit together.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to keep you from her. My goal is for you to have a relationship with her.
But if you're not going to act right, then...
I can't, if I can't trust you.
Yeah.
But once he got arrested and got out, he was a lot more humble, and he was a lot more understanding of, oh, wow, I'm actually really grateful for you, Amanda. Thank you so much for holding shit down and making sure that her life is stable. And he's not an asshole.
Yeah.
He's
just stupid.
Yeah, he did asshole things.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's really not a jackass.
Well, drugs make you
totally. Totally.
Yeah. And it's sad. But I'm glad he's better. I'm glad he's...
Oh, me too. And I'm glad that their relationship is better. Yeah. There was a period of time where she was very annoyed and didn't want to... I think junior high school.
Well, that's a tough age.
She was easy, though. She's more of a pain in the ass now than she was then. I mean, she was really easy all throughout high school. But she was like, Mom, I don't want to be at Dad's house during the school week. So she was with me, and then she would just see him on the weekends.
So after you guys split up, I'm assuming at that point he was providing more, right? Because he had to. No? Yes, no?
No.
Okay.
His mom was doing it.
His mom was doing it.
And my mom and me.
And he had a job.
Yeah.
And so what was the reason?
This is so crazy. He used to, instead of doing his laundry, would just go out and buy all new clothes. Every pay period, he'd just go buy new clothes. He'd go buy new underwear, new pants, probably new outfits, new shoes, new hat. And he was spending his money on drugs.
That is fucking ridiculous.
Well, at that point.
So he didn't have the money because he was
blowing
not managing.
It.
Okay.
He was blowing
it. He was blowing it on blow.
Yeah, he was blowing it on blow, literally.
Wow. Okay. So there was no child support type of situation.
Oh, no, girl. Oh, no.
I was hopeful there for a minute.
He actually had arrears at one point because he didn't have a job. And then he was like, well, shit, he's going to hire me. He had a felony.
Ooh, yeah.
He filed for, food stamps and whatnot because he needed something to support himself. Yeah. And so child support came for me. And this was right after I opened my business. And I was like, oh, hell.
Wait.
Yeah,
Why would they come for you if you were the primary parent?
Because I have more money than him and they want to get their money back. So I had to go to court, child support court, which was a good time. And I was not as healed then as I am now. And I went off on the child support. I was pissed in that courtroom. I was like, I am not giving him or you a dime. He owes me arrears for child support that he hasn't paid. He doesn't even have a license because you guys suspended it because he hadn't paid his child support.
You know they can take your fishing license?
That is so funny.
That is insane, right?
Well, I actually think it's really dumb to take somebody's license because you know what?
It is.
Now, how is my ex-husband supposed to get a job if he doesn't have a way to get to and from work?
Yeah.
Legally. Yeah. It's just setting people up to fail.
It doesn't make sense. And also, they can suspend your registration.
What is the point? Do we not want them to get a job so that they can pay the child support?
I don't know.
And he also owed me back child support.
Yeah.
Several $1,000s.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't paying me.
Yeah.
And so when I went in there, I made my case to the judge. I literally just opened my business. I put myself through school. I was on welfare for 5 months while I put myself through school. He owes me back support. The audacity of you guys even asking me for money when he still owes me money is crazy. So when we went back out, I said, he owes me arrears. He just got out of jail. It is not my fault. This man committed a felony and doesn't have a job anymore. And you're going to punish me for that?
Yeah.
And the judge looked at everything and he goes, this young woman has struggled. He does owe her arrears. I said, speaking of that, can we absolve him of his arrears? And he goes, well, do you understand that if you do that, that you'll never get it? I said, I don't care. I'm never going to get money from him anyways. I don't want his money. I don't need his money.
Yeah.
What I need is for him to have a driver's license that's valid.
Get his shit together.
The only way that that's going to happen is if his arrears are gone. I don't want it. And when we left, they absolved him. And when we left, my ex-husband, we're in the parking lot. We took the elevator downstairs together. We're in the parking lot and he goes, Amanda, I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. Can I give you a hug? I said, get the fuck away from me. I'm not fucking hugging you. Absolutely not. I didn't do that shit for you. I did that shit for our fucking kid. Now get your shit together.
Seriously.
Get a fucking hug. Check yourself. Like, what? I didn't do that for you. But I was so irritated. Can I have a hug? No, absolutely not.
I want to ask you something now. I know we make a lot of jokes and whatever, but how was your mental state going through this?
The divorce?
The divorce and like being like, okay, I'm divorced now. It's just me and my daughter, even though you kind of felt like it was just you and her to begin. Like,
I was happy as shit.
So you didn't go through like a depressive...
No. So this is what's...
I went through that shit when I was with him.
So this is what's super funny. When we were in marriage counseling, our therapist who fired him from marriage counseling and told him he was an addict and he needed to get help and that I should divorce him. And she was like, I will still see you. And at first, when we left that day, I was like, that seems so unprofessional. But now looking, like, honestly, even like a couple weeks later, I went back to her. I was like,
that's how shitty he was.
Oh, well, he was lying all of the time in therapy. She was like, you're wasting my time. You're wasting your wife's time and you're wasting your money. I will not work with you anymore. I will work with you, though.
Well, the whole point of therapy is to be honest.
Totally. And so I still went back to her. And then she was like, I think you should go see a psychiatrist because I was very depressed. Part of it was postpartum, which they didn't really talk about them. But when I went to the psychiatrist, she said, you have situational depression. We're going to put you on this drug and we're going to try this. And your depression is very situational, though. And I go, well, what does that mean? She goes, well, if you change your situation, you do not need to be on these meds forever.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then when I went to therapy after that, we talked about it. She goes, Amanda, if you get a divorce, you're going to be sad for a minute, but you will be happier. Like, you are so unhappy and miserable because anybody in your situation would be.
Yeah.
Like, you are doing this completely by yourself. You have somebody who is emotionally abusive, blah, blah, blah. And I knew that. So when I first left, I ugly cried the second night, not the first. I was too damn tired once I moved into my place. And the second night, I was unpacking some boxes and I found our wedding album and I got like really sad and was like, God, like, I've known you since we were kids. Like, how
did we get here?
Yeah. And I honestly felt, I will tell you truthfully, the bulk of my sadness was at myself and not at him. It was, how is it with as smart as I am and as much therapy as I have already had by this age? Because I had been in therapy from 10 on.
And how old were you at this age?
29. Okay. I was like, how did I marry my father? How the fuck did I do this?
I mean, it happens though. Like, you don't even realize it.
Dude, my mom, when I told her I'm leaving, do you know what that woman said to me?
I can only imagine.
Well, why would you do that? What are you going to do? And I go, what do you mean, what am I going to do? And she goes, well, you're not working. I said, I'm going to get a fucking job like a grown-up. And she goes, but you don't have one yet. I said, I don't care. I'll find one. I am not staying anymore. I am leaving. I am packing and I need help moving.
So many women, as you know, it's hard to get to that point. It's very hard to be like, I'm leaving. Oh. Because then you have those people in your life, like your mom.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? Be happy, probably.
Yeah. That puts stuff in your head and are there kind of like, hey, like, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe you should just wait it out for the kids. Maybe you should this. Maybe And, sometimes it becomes very hard to just leave to make yourself happy. And then you end up staying for years and just being unhappy. And that, what do unhappy parents create? It's unhappy kids.
Totally. Well, I resent the hell out of my mom still to this day.
Well, there you go. I mean,
she's still miserable. The good news is I have a fire inside of me, as you know, and I am extremely resilient. And if there is one thing that I will not do, it is tolerate shit for very long. I couldn't believe I stayed for as long as I did. Mm-hmm. And I was really mad at myself about it. I stopped taking my antidepressants cold turkey the day I moved out. And I did not know that we really weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah, you're supposed to wing off of them, I guess.
Girl, I was so happy. Like, I cried that second day. And then from that point on, I found a job within a week.
Okay.
And I found a preschool for our daughter. And I was so happy. It was like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. Now my daughter has a chance at having a good relationship with her dad because I'm not sticking around enabling him. Unfortunately, there were other people still enabling him.
Yeah, but that wasn't your fucking problem anymore.
But even then, even when he was still using drugs, he still was a more present parent with her than when I was around because he had to be more. He had to pick her up from school. I have several friends who have been like, oh my God, like my heart's in pieces. And I have had a lot of trauma in my life before that happened. I think I've been through things that were far more painful than getting a divorce. And I know myself and I know that I'm stronger than anything. I can get through anything. I wasn't sitting around wallowing. Just even the fact that I would let him have her on the weekends, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I have time to just, I don't know, go to the bathroom unattended.
Were you ever worried that he was going to put your daughter in a dangerous situation or anything?
No, because he's terrified of me. No. No.
And you said he lived with his mom?
Yeah.
So his mom helped a lot. She was kind of there to take over, if anything.
Yeah. And, there would even be times where his mom wasn't available and he would ask my mom, like, oh, hey, I have something to do tonight. Can you keep her? I mean, my mom was like, okay, yeah, sure. But no, I did never really worry about him putting her too much in a dangerous situation. The most dangerous thing he did was right before, it was literally 2 days before he got arrested. A few days before he was arrested, our daughter had been at his house, and she came back home to my house where I was living at the time with my long-term boyfriend. And she, out of nowhere, woke up having a panic attack in the middle of the night. And I thought, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because when I had a trauma as a child, that is how it presented, was I would all of a sudden in the middle of the night wake up like, oh, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
And how old was she around this time?
She was 8.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, what's going on? Did something happen? Is something going on? Blah, blah, blah. She was like, oh, I don't know. And nothing's wrong. And then when he was arrested, Sac County Sheriff actually called me and was like, hi, we're looking for your ex-husband. Do you know where he's at? I actually told them exactly where he was and helped them arrest him. But once that happened, his mom went over to his house because at that point he had his own apartment. And she told me that there was almost no food in the fridge and that he had a little chihuahua at the time and that it had been going to the bathroom all over the house. It was super filthy. I didn't tell her right away that he had been arrested.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was on the news.
Of course.
So I had to tell her eventually, but I started asking her more questions of like, oh, what would your dad do at home? Did you notice that, Scooter was going to the bathroom all over the house? And like, where was he? What were you eating? So she told me she woke up a couple times in the middle of the night and he wasn't there, but he was at the end of his long, dark driveway on his phone talking to that young girlfriend doing coke all night.
So he would leave her inside the house. He was
but
outside.
But when you're 8 and you wake up and it's dark and you don't know where your dad is, that's terrifying.
Oh, no. Yes, that is terrifying.
And I was like, oh, okay. So
he was there and he let the dog shit everywhere and it wasn't, okay.
He had a 3-day pay or quit notice on the door. Like he hadn't paid rent. Well, this is why I actually finally left was we had that at our house in Monterey. And I was like, what did you do with the rent? You've been bringing me home receipts. And he goes, well, it's my money. It's none of your business. And I was like, oh.
Is that your final
answer?
Have
you met me?
Apparently
Are you
not.
ready to play with fire? I was like, cool. All right. So anyhow, I got her into therapy.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, immediately. I don't play around with stuff like that.
Now, you said you were in therapy as a kid. So your mom put you in therapy?
No, I'm totally fine sharing this. I was molested by my dad's best friend.
Okay.
And coworker. And he molested 13 people.
13 people, you said?
13 people. Actually, it went to trial. I was the only one who testified against him because...
Of course you were.
It was the 80s and everybody else was like, we just want to move on. We don't want to talk about it.
Not Amanda.
Yeah, not me. I was like, let's go, bro.
Yeah.
I was 10.
You, girl, look at you.
So for anybody listening who has ever been a victim in the state of California of any sort of sexual assault or even domestic violence, or I also had a friend from elementary school. Her mom did drugs and beat me and all of her kids up when I spent the night.
What?
Yeah. She did PCP and she lost her mind. So any sort of violent crime or any sort of sexual crime in the state of California, you can get free therapy from the state. I believe it's called Victim Witness. It's like a Victim Witness fund, and the state pays for you to have trauma therapy.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't know that. That's good information.
It's been around forever. And even so, like for me, I had another thing happen when I was a teenager, and I could go back free of charge through the state of California.
Really?
Yeah, like even if it was 15 years ago, you should reach out to them and find out, especially if there was a police report involved or anything like that, and you can get therapy.
Thank you for sharing that because that's important. Really good information.
A lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that.
A lot of people don't. Well, and sadly, a lot of people don't report crimes like that.
Yeah.
They do let's just move on.
Yeah.
Let's ignore. So I went to therapy from 10 until I was 18 for free. And then at 18, I said, peace out, Sacramento, and I moved to the Bay Area. And I then went back to therapy. I was off therapy for a couple years, and I went back to therapy at 20. And also, anytime I've had things come up or I'm not really liking how I'm feeling, I will just go back. Because it's really easy for me to see things for other people, right? But it's always different when it's yourself. Always.
Always.
I had always known I needed EMDR therapy, which is for trauma. It's to treat PTSD. and I started EMDR therapy when I was 37. Total game changer.
Can you explain what EMDR is a little bit?
So EMDR is eye movement reprogramming desensitization. And what happens when you have PTSD is your brain has not fully processed the trauma. And by the way, everybody in the world has trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Does not mean it's a big T.
Right.
If you have somebody who cheated on you, you now have betrayal trauma. Like everybody has trauma. There's nobody who doesn't. But when I have CPTSD, which is complex because I've had repeat traumas and I actually lived in a traumatic environment with my parents. For anybody with PTSD, you're stuck on this merry-go-round. Like your trauma has not fully processed. Your brain is like stuck on it. So when your PTSD is triggered, you go into either fight, flight, freeze. I go into flight and fight.
No.
I do not go into freeze.
No way.
Yeah, I know, shocking. And it just helps you process it so that your nervous system can learn to regulate itself again. And so that if there are triggers, even though you still may be triggered by it, you don't become super hyper vigilant and you don't freeze. Your brain can understand, okay, we're safe, we're okay.
I need to do that. And we've talked about this before.
You do.
You've given me the information.
It is life changing.
And I haven't done it, but I really
It's okay. It's not going anywhere. It'll be there.
I know.
The good news is that it never used to be covered by insurance, and I've always paid out of pocket. And now even Kaiser,
really,
you can get it. You just have to find somebody who does it that is contracted with them. And I found somebody.
Okay, we're gonna talk.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk after this.
It's therapy is so important, and I don't know why people are so avoidant.
I will say this: there was a time where I was kind of like, what is therapy really? Like, I mean, it's not going to help me, like, blah, 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 blah. And then I started it and I'm like, okay, this does help. I've heard people say like, they don't want to talk about the things I've heard. I'm like, they've moved on.
But they haven't.
Yeah.
Especially if you can't talk about something without feeling some sort of like resistance to it, there is your tell that you have not moved on.
I found it very helpful. And, sometimes I don't like the shit that my therapist tells me because she's telling me the truth. And it's really hard sometimes to be like, yeah, you're right. I'm part of the problem. Like this is what I need to change, blah, blah, blah. It sucks, but also it's eye-opening and it's like, okay, like I can't just be blaming this person or that person for their behavior because my behavior it also needs work. So anyways, I do believe that therapy helps. If anyone is on the fence about it,
just do it.
Just do it.
And also what you just said is a sign of a good therapist. If you have a therapist that isn't pissing you off sometimes and making you feel a little annoyed because they've said something you don't like, you don't have a good therapist.
You know what? I had a therapist like that the first time around. I felt like I was just talking to a friend that I didn't know too well. And I was just telling her stuff that was going on. And she was just agreeing with everything and just listening to my stories. And y'all know I can talk. I think she was entertained.
Probably. Who wouldn't love to be
right? And
he's spending an hour with you.
Yeah, and we were just talking and like it was like this isn't therapy. She's not really actually giving me tools to get better. She's kind of just agreeing with everything that I say. Yes. And don't get me wrong, I'm right about a lot of stuff.
I know. But we both are.
Right? But there's no way I'm like this right all the time.
Yeah.
Like at that point when I realized that like she's not helping me, I was like, okay, I need to stop this. This is not actually helping me and I'm just wasting a freaking hour once a week with this person.
It's good that you realize that because there are people, my mother, who the second a therapist tells her any sort of truth, she immediately, I don't like that therapist. I'm quitting. And she stops going to them. There should be some pushback. Do you want to improve? All of us are screwed up. We all have flaws. None of us are perfect. Yeah, you and I are right, like 99.9% of the time. But there is 0.1%.
And somebody needs to point that out.
I actually was going to tell you yesterday I had therapy and I was like, I gotta bring this up tomorrow because this is so true. So my husband, love him to death. He has untreated ADHD and sometimes I want to bash his head into a wall.
Mine too.
I mean, he is constantly, where's this? Where's that? Where's this? Where's that? Like, he would I don't know how he has not lost his body. Like, he can't keep track of anything. And I have been feeling very irritated by him. And honestly, every relationship with a man that I've ever been in, where you're like, I really love you, but I do not like you right now. You are on my last nerve.
Every marriage goes through that.
For sure. However, most of the time, it's because the one who's irritated is doing too much. They're handling too much. They're like, and my therapist pointed out yesterday, she goes, well, yeah, you've gone back into your codependent behavior, because my codependency does not, I'm very independent. I want space. I want to be alone. My codependency comes out in control. And that's actually a very common one for women. And I did that in my first marriage, right? I was doing everything. I cooked all the meals. I did all the laundry. I did all the cleaning. I did all of the childcare. I hated him. I hated him. You know, he would always lose stuff too, but I do know, and I've done a lot of like codependency work to get out of that, but I know I will always try to go back to that because it's easier, right? Well, I just know where that's why he's asking me, because I always fix it for him.
Yeah.
And so I had to go home yesterday and tell him, so my homework is that I'm not allowed to fix things for you anymore. You can ask me where things are, but my responses are going to be, oh, I'm sorry. That must be very frustrating. That is something that is very common, a very common issue in marriage with people who have children, because women do so much of the mental load, the physical load. And then in this day and age, so many of them also have to go to work all day.
Yeah.
And I was a stay-at-home mom for the 4.5 years I had her, minus the few months I had a job. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
It's hard as fuck.
It is not.
Capital F.
It is not it for me. I mean, my best friend and I are always like, man, how do these moms stay home? I'm like, get me out. Let me go.
Yeah, it's tough.
But there is something to be said for women, like, maybe this is like advice that they could think about when they're feeling every little thing is irritating to them. They're feeling so irritated. Like, are you fixing too many problems that aren't yours to fix? Like, our partners are capable adult human beings, and they figured everything out before we came along, and they are still capable of figuring it out.
Some of them
without us.
Some of them.
Well, if they're not, then
some of them had their mommies.
You should just get a divorce, girly pop.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, being a single parent, a single mom, or I have a hard time with the single mom thing, because if there is a single mom, there is also a single dad usually.
Yes.
It goes both ways. And there are dads that do more than moms, as we know, in your case.
Yes.
But it was so much easier for so many women when they left, because it was like, well, I can't rely on you and I live with you. I'd rather be alone and know that I have no way of relying on you.
Yeah.
And everything in my house will be exactly how I want it.
Because you don't have that frustration that,
I don't have to hate you.
Yeah. Like, okay, well, now my husband's not helping me.
Yeah.
Well, if we're not together anymore, that expectation is gone. And you already know, like, there's no waiting on this guy to get his shit together. Fuck this. I don't need him.
I don't need to parent you and my child.
Yeah.
And I mean, with what I do for work now, I see women all the time coming in telling me they're getting a divorce or they're divorced. And do you know, I have never once told somebody when they're getting a divorce, I'm sorry. I have always said, congratulations. Because at the end of the day, a good, healthy relationship doesn't go that way. You may not want it. It may not have been your idea. You may have been heartbroken, but I can promise you one thing, you are going to be better off. No matter how hard it is, you will both be better off. And your kids will be too. People used to tell me when I'm so sorry. And I was like, why? I'm not.
Yeah.
I am not sorry. I am grateful.
Well, especially back in the day, divorce was not a thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got married and you stayed married, even if you were unhappy.
I would have committed a crime.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I wasn't born back then.
Yeah.
I would have been like, I don't know where my husband is. He's missing. You guys, I'm kidding. I wouldn't actually.
All jokes. For those of you that don't know Amanda.
Yeah, I'm totally kidding.
Yeah. Or me.
I would just leave.
But the dark humor is real with us.
Yes.
But yes, no.
I just think it's really sad how many people try. I mean, I really felt like I tried for too long to make it work or to figure it out. And I mean, to be fair, my marriage was far more messy than a lot of other people's marriages. Like, they could listen and be like, my husband wasn't doing that stuff. But at the end of the day,
I mean, I know I already know a handful of women that can relate to this story. I mean,
sure.
not exactly, but obviously,
it's
like,
very common.
yeah, my husband was on drugs, or my ex-husband was on drugs,
or was cheating,
or was doing stupid shit.
Cheating is very common, and also cheating is not just physical. There is emotional cheating too, and that is sometimes more damaging. I just think that people should not be scared to end it, because although it may be harder at first, in the long run, it's better for your mental health. Like, why betray yourself to be miserable for your kids? And I'm doing air quotes, because what are they going to get from it? Oh, look at mom. Mom's always miserable. Oh, look at dad. Dad's always miserable. Oh, look at the way they talk to each other with contempt all the time.
And then they grow up, and then they
repeat the pattern. This is where generational trauma comes from, y'all.
Yep. I want to ask you also, so now that, you've been divorced for several years.
2006, it's been almost 20 years.
But so now that it's been years and now you're remarried.
Yes.
How long have you been married for?
2 years and 7 months.
2 years and 7 months. And how long were you and your husband dating before you guys got married?
We met in February of 2018.
Okay.
And we got married in 2022. So October 2022. So 4 years.
Okay.
5 years. 5 years.
And you did mention earlier that you never thought you'd get married.
Oh, no.
Again.
I was never going to get married. I would not live with a man. I would not get married. Everybody who knows me knows this. I had many boyfriends after my divorce. And they would talk about marriage. I was like, oh, hell no, that ain't never going to happen.
You were traumatized.
Well, I was just like, no, I would never do that.
Now, what?
I didn't want to live with a man.
What did this gentleman do to change your mind?
Girl, I don't know. He was so annoying. Well, number one, I did EMDR therapy and worked through my trauma, and then was able to trust my picker again, because I had a long list of bad relationships.
Okay.
Usually just men who cheated. So I met him. He did not love bomb me. There were no fireworks. I was
what
like,
a dream.
Wow. No, well, that's the thing.
That was my husband. He did not love bomb me either. And I found myself kind of like, hey, like, why the fuck aren't you texting me?
That's how I was. Because I was used to being love bombed.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I met him and I was like, oh, wow. I mean, he's really nice. He's cute. Like, I think I like him. I think I'd hang out with him again.
I think I'd marry him.
No. And then the second day, I was like, oh, yeah. I do like him. And then I was going to therapy and I was like, he's not texting me. He's not. My therapist was like, yeah, because he's healthy. I learned through all of my work that if you get intense sparks and fireworks the minute you meet somebody, that is your subconscious brain, childhood traumas that are triggered. And it's like, oh, this person reminds me of this trauma and this person's going to heal it. It is a red flag to run for the hills.
Really?
Yes. It is a red flag.
That's good information.
So it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I was really struggling. And she's like, well, yeah, he's not love bombing you. And he shouldn't be texting you all day, every day.
You know, it's funny. I bring this up to Omar sometimes. Like, I was like, dude, I wasn't used to not being, like, not to toot my own horn, but back in my day, I was a sexy motherfucker.
And men would just flatter you right out of the way. They'd be like, damn, girl, or, whatever.
It was like texting constantly and like just wanting to spend time with you.
Yes.
And to be fair, he wasn't going through a lot of, he was going through chemotherapy.
I'm like, get it together, dude. Like, what's a little chemo on a Tuesday?
I know, like, listen, I know you probably are weak and have no energy. I was at work and I checked my phone and I'd be like, okay, well, it's the next day. It's almost lunchtime. And the last time I texted was like 8 p.m. last night. And he has not texted me. And, I wasn't used to that. And I was just like, okay. And honestly, I think that's what made me more intrigued.
My husband, I hadn't heard from him in a few days and I texted him being thirsty. And I was like, hey, hope you had a great weekend. I just wanted to say I had a really good time on our date. If you'd like to go out again, I'd be happy to do that. I did not hear back from him for almost 48 hours. I was like, oh, wow, he really isn't interested. He really isn't. But it was because he was going through a divorce. He worked nights.
He had kids.
And he was busy and he didn't want to be disrespectful and text me back late at night. And I was like, no, boy,
What?
text me back. Be
Like,
disrespectful.
Yeah, like, for real.
And so the next time I heard from him, that was on a Monday, and I heard from him Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
He responded and he said, let me check my calendar. My best friend Alice and I are like, how long does it take this clown to check his calendar? Like where did he get lost? Is it like in a cave somewhere in Egypt? Real. Like, what's going on? So he responded on Wednesday and was like, hey, are you busy tonight? Want to get dinner? And I wanted to so bad. And I was like, I am not that bitch anymore. And so I responded and I said, yeah, sorry, unavailable tonight. Can't really do last minute plans. I have plans with my daughter. I did not have plans.
Yeah.
I went home and washed my face and got in bed at 7:00. But I said, I'm available Thursday night. And he goes, oh, okay, that'll work. And so we met for dinner. We still laugh about that because he was like, he had been with his ex-wife for 20 years. He had never dated. She was his first girlfriend.
He didn't know what to do.
He was like, that's weird. That's not normal. Like, I have a job. I work. It was probably 2 months in, and I don't know what it was. He was just so soothing for my nervous system because he wasn't losing everything then and asking me. It's because I hadn't come swooped in and played Captain Save a Ho with his phone. And I had people that would tell me they felt safe or like, oh yeah, I don't trip when my husband travels for work or anything. I was like, this is not real life. This is not true. And then I met him and I was like, I trust him. Like, I know he would never.
That is the best feeling.
I'd never had it.
I have that with Omar. But I know a lot of people who just can't handle their spouse going anywhere, traveling without them, doing anything, hanging out with friends.
Used to be me.
I don't know what that's like. And I'm so glad. Like, we trust each other. He does his thing and I do my thing.
Yeah.
And it's such a great feeling. And I see a lot of women who are like in this panic. And I'm like, okay.
They don't have peace.
Yeah. Why would you get married? I always say, if I can't trust you, I'm not going to marry you. I don't want to live my life wondering what the fuck you're doing.
No.
Like, I have enough mental health issues that I need to worry about and think about. I can't be thinking about you.
No, I mean, it is the best feeling. And
it's
when
soothing.
I realized how safe I felt with him, I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to marry this guy someday. And then my therapist a few months later told me, she goes, I don't usually say this to people, but I'm pretty sure you guys are going to get married. And then I did not know this, but his therapist that he was seeing at the time told him that. And then we both eventually graduated from our therapies. But yeah, I'm going to go home in a little bit and my husband's going to ask me to find his keys or his phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That sounds like my husband. Okay. So I also want to ask you, to kind of wrap it up, is how does your daughter feel about your husband? Now, I know she's older.
So she absolutely loves him. My husband now, she was like, please marry him. And I was like, oh, we will. We'll get married. She's like, do you know, are you going? I was like, no, I know we're going to.
My therapist told me.
Yeah. I was like, we're for sure going to get married. And basically told him how wonderful he was and what impact he had had on her life.
Mm-hmm.
It made him cry. And she loves her dad, but he's more immature. Christopher, which that's fine, I'll say his name. Mm-hmm. He's very stable and steady and reliable and responsible. He also, in 2020, when my ex-husband had a brain hemorrhage, he got released out of the hospital too soon. They patient dumped him, which was the thing that happened during COVID. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He didn't know where he lived because he had literal blood in his brain.
Yeah.
And he still needed to be in a neuro ICU. My husband got on a Southwest flight immediately, put my daughter on the plane with him, flew to LA where my ex-husband was living, put him in my ex-husband's car, and my now husband drove my ex-husband straight back to Sacramento to UCD Med Center and got him help.
Well, no wonder she loves him.
I mean, if he hadn't done that, he probably would have died because I had just had a tummy tuck surgery and I couldn't drive. I was like, oh my God. And he's like, you are not flying. I'm going to book me and your daughter a flight and we're going to go get him and we're going to bring him back up. We were able to get him the care he needed, but I mean, he really helped save his life. He's a keeper.
And so just to wrap it up, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Was there anything else you want to say?
Get a divorce, ladies. I'm kidding.
If you're not happy.
Yeah, if you're not happy, what are you doing? Like, What are you doing? Be happy.
Go find your Christopher.
And that's not to say that like marriages are hard, but yeah, I mean, just don't live a miserable life.
I agree.
It's not worth it. Life is short.
You're right. Thank you very much, Amanda.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone, that concludes our episode for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I know there was a lot of joking going on and stuff, but this is just Amanda's story. And I know there was a lot of things that she talked about that are very relatable. And there's a lot of information that she discussed about therapy that I think was very useful. So I hope that somebody out there gets something out of this and it helps somebody out there that is struggling right now, that has either gone through a divorce or is currently going through a divorce. Put yourself first. Sometimes it is the best thing to do. Now, to close off this episode, I want to read a quote per usual, and I thought this one was very fitting. I do not know who wrote it. I found it online. Here it goes. Maybe a happy ending doesn't include someone else. Maybe it's you, on your own, picking up the pieces and starting over, freeing yourself from something better in the future. Maybe the happy ending is just moving on. All right, guys. Until next time, happy parenting.